Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network, the #1 network in the United States of America, and also Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, and Paris, France, as well as London, England. Thank you so much. And you know, Big C, I know you might get mad at me, but I talked to all the people up in Canada. They haven't counted me out yet. I'm going to give it one more good old boy try, and I just want to sing, "Whoa, Canada, our home and native land." Now, I know I hit at least a 5 out of 10 on that one, okay? I don't care what you say, Big C, but there's still no one I love more than them good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys, Big C? Yeah. Wow.
So I'm a little nervous right now. I gotta, buckle down a few hatches and everything, and
wow.
Gotta hide the Escalade behind the barn and everything.
Yeah, you gotta hide the Escalade, but you know that there's so much happening in the world of sports, and obviously we'll get into it later. But the Oakland Raiders, Roger Goodell and 31 of the 32 NFL owners said that they're okay with the Raiders going to Las Vegas because that's an extra trip for them down in, where nobody knows what happens. So what do they say? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. A lot of good old boys voting to go that trip at least every other year. And then also, of course, baseball starting up. We have March Madness. All the 4 teams are set now, Big C. And a lot of good things going on in the world of sports, Big C. But in the meantime, as we were talking so much about this March Madness and how what team would get in and who wouldn't, I think only North Carolina is a favorite. And, well, Gonzaga. I know you picked Gonzaga to go and do their thing, too. Just your thoughts on how March Madness is shaping up, Big C.
Well, Charlton, it's been a phenomenal run to get to Arizona. I thought Kansas might have been in the mix, but, they were knocked out by that exciting Oregon team, with them loud colors going on.
Yeah.
When you talk about college basketball, Charlton, at its finest, and we've seen it during the tournament.
Yeah.
We've seen some great games. We saw one overtime game with South Carolina, making it to the Final Four for the first time in program history, which is a great thing. And when we look at the setting, Charlton, of the 4 teams, Gonzaga getting its first run to the Final Four, South Carolina getting its first run. We know North Carolina's been there. This is their 20th time, Charlton.
Yeah, 20 times now.
The most amazing stat of all the Final Four teams, Charlton,
yeah,
is Oregon. If you go back to the initial NCAA championship, Oregon was the first NCAA championship in basketball.
Yeah.
And now they're back again in 2017, 77 years later, Charlton.
That's incredible. And Phil Knight has a lot of money, Big C, and he probably has more money than Vladimir Putin, Big C. I don't know. Hey, read between the lines, Big C. Read between the lines. They say money doesn't talk, but it does. But ironically, when you look at the teams in March Madness in the Final Four now, down in the desert in Phoenix, Arizona, you have Gonzaga, which is out of Spokane, Washington. Big C, that's Pac-10 territory with Washington State. The campuses can't be more than a 30-minute drive apart. And also, Spokane, Pullman, same area. And then you have Oregon from Eugene. Those are pretty much obscure parts of the country. All we have in Oregon for pro leagues, basically, they have a soccer team. But the Portland Trailblazers, Seattle has the Seahawks. They're great. And they have the Mariners, and they have soccer as well, but they lost basketball. Imagine the team that lost basketball having a team represented in the Final Four, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you really look at this is a true border war.
Yeah.
You have Oregon and Washington, 2 bordered states.
Yeah.
You have South Carolina and North Carolina, 2 bordered states. This is the first time in tournament history that you had these proximities of schools playing each other, Charlton, from opposite states.
Yeah.
All 4 going into the tournament. So, there's a lot of interest when it comes from there. When you look at the people from the West Coast being able to make it to Phoenix, Charlton, that Oregon run and that Seattle run is not a hard run from Vegas. I'm going to assume that they got normal flights out there all day long.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure they won't have a hard time finding people who can get on the plane and get all the way down the West Coast. I know when it comes to TV rights, Big C, a lot of people are still looking forward to what's going to happen in the world of basketball if we get North Carolina playing South Carolina. And obviously, you know, the NBA banned the All-Star game being in Carolina. But what would it mean? You're down south. You're part of the you cover the SEC quite often, Big C. What would it mean to the SEC school, South Carolina? They're not even favored to win their conference year in and year out, and they're kind of like the middle of the pack. But now they're representing that conference in the Final Four, Big C.
Well, Charleston, no one gave them a chance to get there, but you know they played phenomenal basketball. You know, we talked a lot about the guard play throughout the tournament, and you look at the players who have led their team. It has been the guards, Charleston, that have gotten their teams in the position, making the right passes. And it's so important to have a mature floor general.
Yeah.
And that's what these teams represent, Charleston, that are in the finals. They have returning players. You know, North Carolina has that experience from being there a year ago. South Carolina, you know, has had a team that has been built over the past couple of seasons that have stayed together. You haven't seen those early entries like John Calipari sending guys off to the NBA.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is a team that has developed at the right time. He made it to the Final Four. Roy Williams is a phenomenal coach. He's been there with Kansas, now he's back again with North Carolina multiple times with both schools. So, you know, it's a testament to his coaching ability, you know, and to be able to play these players. But, you know, we talked about South Carolina. Frank Martinez is the coach from South Carolina.
Yeah.
The most marvelous story in all of the tournament, Charleston. You know, he's the grandson of Cuban immigrant refugees.
Oh, really?
You know, that came to the United States years ago in exile, you know, seeking a better life. And ironically, his grandfather, when he came here to America, passed away of a heart attack and, you know, left his grandmother as the patriarch of the family. And she worked, you know, in sewing factories in Florida for 12 hours a day, Charleston.
Yeah.
You know, to make sure that the family had stability. And that's where he's got his work ethic. You know, he went to Kansas State, built that program, and no one could understand why he left and went to South Carolina. But I think everybody understands now that when you bring the proper coach into your organization, and you bring the right players to go along with that coach and believe his message, this is what you get, a trip to the Final Four, the ultimate goal of all college basketball players, Charleston.
Yeah, and that's amazing when you bring that up, Big C, because everybody wants to play at the highest level. It doesn't matter, you know, who you are. If you're an athlete, you want to win a championship game. And when I look at South Carolina, they're 26-10, you know, coming into the game against Florida, and Florida was 27-9. And now they have a game, they have a chance to do something that really their school is not known for a basketball power. They're pretty much, you know, with Steve Spurrier, they were always knocking on the door to be an SEC powerhouse or at least mid-powerhouse. Spurrier stepped down. Ironically, they brought in Spurrier to win a national championship or at least get to the SEC championship, Big C.
And they brought Spurrier in after they had Lou Holtz. Resurrected that program, stepped down and allowed Steve Spurrier to come in.
Yeah, and you talk about two pretty much college Hall of Fame coaches that could not even get an SEC championship, but now that their basketball has a chance to bring a trophy back to Carolina, Big C. Will we see any Dixie flags down in Arizona? Just a thought, Big C.
Well, you know, there's going to be a whole lot of Carolina talk.
Yeah, that's
and I don't know if everybody down there can spell, so they're just Carolina.
That's funny, Big C.
You know, regardless of who wins.
Yeah,
but, you know, it's great. You know, we talked about, you know, 10 years ago, Charleston, 3 of these teams would have never been thought of as potential national championship teams.
Yeah.
These universities.
Yeah.
They just were not considered in with the big boys. But this is how the landscape has changed, Charleston, when you limit the scholarships that programs can have. And now that everybody can be on national television, it's not just left to a dozen teams all year long.
Yeah.
You get that exposure. All the players get it. You know, we talked about Gonzaga with Mark Pugh, 20 consecutive years.
Oh, yeah.
Being in the championship game in his conference. And you look what, you know, South Carolina has done now, you know, making it to the championship. Oregon has not been there since the initial college basketball championship, Charles.
Yeah.
They won the initial one. So you think about the long drought, but you also look at this, Charles. They're one of the few programs that over a 5-year span has sent their football team and their basketball team into the national semifinals in football and basketball.
Well,
they did it a few years ago with the football team
against
Auburn, Charleston.
Yeah, and that's interesting you bring it up because, Everybody talks about going to the big market, Big C. That's where the money is, and everybody wants to go where there's more marketing opportunities and more sponsor opportunities. But for college, I think this is great for college basketball. I was talking to you earlier in the year. I said, Big C, how does someone at Kansas have a top 5 team, it seems, every year? How does someone like Gonzaga in Oregon have like top 10 teams almost every year? And you brought that point up that a lot of people leave the big cities because they want to get a fresh start. They want to start their own legacy. And now we're seeing that duplicated in college basketball with Oregon's a small market, Eugene's small market, and Spokane's a small market. South Carolina, where them good old boys are from, and North Carolina, that's a pretty large market. But to have 2 of the 4 teams from small markets, I think that just shows how the talent level, Big C, is spread around the country. Your thoughts?
Yeah. We talk about North Carolina.
Yeah.
These are university towns, and we know that Gonzaga being in Spokane, I mean, it's like running through a parking lot where you live.
Yeah. Now, like one stoplight, Big C, right? Maybe 2 stoplights.
And I don't even know if Oregon has an airport, Charles. So, when you think about being up there in Eugene, they got a university and not much else. So this is a representation to show that you don't have to be in that huge town any longer. That 30 years ago, Charleston, if you weren't on the major landscape, no one really wanted to consider you if you were a top flight athlete.
Yeah.
But when you look around, Charleston, isn't it amazing how an athlete can change the landscape of a university?
Oh yeah.
When you bring in the right atmosphere of a coach and a player.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm most happy about right now, Charleston, and I'm not knocking any kid, but I'm so happy that UCLA is not in the tournament.
Yeah.
Because of the distraction of Lorenzo Ball in the tournament, it just became obnoxious.
Yeah.
And I don't really blame him. I blame the damn media, Charleston.
Yeah.
These guys, because you don't have professionals anymore in the media.
No.
You have casual talkers and writers, Charleston. The old guys who were signatures, the Vince Scully, people like that.
Yeah.
The Dick Enbergs. These people, Charleston, who could build a story and tell it, and let you understand what the athletes were about. But we got all these modern fangled guys now. And Lorenzo Ball was a bigger story than his son.
Yeah.
Bigger story than UCLA. Bigger story than Steve Alford.
Yeah.
The father of a player on the sideline was a bigger story. And then they showed him crying on the sideline. They should have never showed him at all.
Yeah.
Because you gave him even more pub, Charlton.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. It takes away from what his son and the team have done all year long because you're focusing on this individual who has nothing to do with the success of the Bruins during the season.
Well, ironically, you bring that up because this morning Stephen A. Smith brought the father back on. Maybe they have some type of business going on, Big C, but at the same time, he had Lonzo Ball on the TV program too, and obviously someone needs to teach Lonzo how to dress like a professional. You're about to become a multi-millionaire, so wear a sports coat at least. That's just my own opinion, Big C. But when he had him on again, it was about Stephen A. Smith talking about the dad. It's almost like let's have the dirty dozens when there's so many other things to talk about that are going on in the world of March Madness. I know Kobe Bryant was on TV today, very sharp, very well spoken. I think he speaks about 5 languages. But obviously, the young man has a bright future. He also has some things going on in his family with his mom, but I won't get into the medical things going on there. So he played with a heavy heart, and I'm still impressed with the way he played because he's carried that team as a freshman. I mean, this kid can't even legally have a drink, Big C, but he's carried UCLA to March Madness. Big C, your thoughts? Yeah, well, he can't drink moonshine. You got to be legal. Is moonshine legal in the South, Big C? I don't even know if it's legal. Okay, well, I'm sure his dad wouldn't mind showing up if you say it's free, okay? If it's free food, he'll show up. Let me just say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, funny thing happened. I was driving up over the Sierra Nevada mountains just over the weekend, and lots of snow on the ground. And ironically, every car's muddy, but it has snow on it. Well, funny thing, it's not really funny when you think about it. I don't know how you do it. I'm driving and the snow was coming so hard. I had my wipers on. And I'm from California, so I'm kind of naive. I turned my windshield water spray on to get the mud off the windshield. But when freezing air hits water, it freezes, so I couldn't see. Right? How do you live like that, Big C? Does the Escalade have heated windshields or something?
We have great pressure washers, fluid to get it off, and when you got that strong stream,
yeah.
It'll knock down just about anything. We don't get much ice back there.
Yeah.
That's the point. A cold day when it gets down in the 40s, we get nervous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I had a lot more respect for you when I was driving and I couldn't see much further ahead from me, Big C. But I think I just want to touch on this one thing before we get into the Raiders. So much talk about who's going to be the MVP. I think a guy like Oscar Robertson, he's someone who has been an amazing athlete. You think about, of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and obviously when they were playing, you really didn't have much thought of who's going to be MVP. I think one of the big guys that, Patrick Ewing never quite lived up to the status of how good he was because he always had to beat Michael Jordan. He had to go up against Lambeer and them good old boys. And then he had to play up against Hakeem Olajuwon. So he was always going up against other Hall of Famers. With Westbrook and Harden, I think you got to give it to Westbrook because he gives you effort all the time. I'll never forget last year watching Golden State eliminate Houston, and there was Harden laying down on his back at the end of the court, and the game had about 3 minutes left. I think effort is something that you can't teach. You either have it or you don't. I know sometimes they say, well, that's last year, this year. But if any guy, Westbrook reminds me of a guy like Oscar Robertson, of a guy like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Not the best shooter, but no one has more heart. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, you got to look at it from this perspective. If you put James Harden's numbers in perspective of a player playing under Mike D'Antonio,
yeah.
Steve Nash won the MVP twice.
Yeah.
Playing under Mike D'Antonio.
Yeah.
And he probably averaged as many assists as he did points a game. He never had the numbers that would replicate what Harden is doing. And not only is Harden doing this and leading his team, you think about these two players, Charlton.
Yeah.
They had parallel careers that started with each other in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
But both of these teams lost a big man last year, okay?
Yeah.
Both of them. Durant, everybody talks about Durant leaving Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
But Dwight Howard also left Houston, Charlton.
Yeah.
Now, you think about which team got better by losing a big man, and both of these players are playing equal. So now, when you talk about a player picking up the slack and making your team better,
yeah.
because you lost a big man instead of saying, I got to do everything all by myself.
Yeah.
Westbrook has done a lot.
Yeah.
But Harden has done more, Charlton, because he's helped make the team better. He's averaging over 11 assists a game. He's third in the league in scoring.
Yeah.
So it looks like there's this beautiful double Christmases also.
Yeah.
But he made his team better, Charlton. And he's bought into this D'Antonio system where everybody said he wouldn't play a lick of defense.
Yeah.
He's playing defense, Charlton. But when you compare him to previous guards over the past decade and a half that have won the MVP, the teams improved. Phoenix improved when D'Antonio was down there, Charlton.
Yeah.
And Steve Nash was the point.
Oh, he's a great coach, yeah.
Back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah.
But Oklahoma City, with the great season that Westbrook is having, has not improved. I like Harden as the MVP. I like LeBron James as the most dominating player in the NBA.
Yeah.
I like Westbrook as the most exciting player in the NBA. We got to find a way to replicate more rewards in the league.
I agree.
Because all of these guys are greatly deserve it.
Yeah.
But the thing about an MVP, Charlton, is that most valuable player is that you make your team better.
Yeah.
We've seen players go out there and score 30, 35 points a game for a season and not be the best player in the league. They just score a lot.
Yeah.
Because their team struggles because they've taken the ball out of everybody's hands. I mean, if you look at Kobe when he retired his last game, he scored 60 points.
Yeah.
But how many points did the rest of the team play?
Yeah.
Did he make the team better?
We know that was a Las Vegas shuffle. Kobe never scored 60 points, and when he could barely walk, that was a Las Vegas shuffle. But it was good for LA is a land of make believe. Big C. Don't think he hit that 60 points playing against the good old boys, the bad boys from back in the day. Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, and that's what I mean. Westbrook. I mean, people know he's not going to pass the ball a certain time. He gets to the rim and he's going to shoot. It's
Yeah.
not about whether he's going to make it. He's just going to shoot.
Yeah.
He's going to pull up from anywhere. If he misses 5 in a row, he's going to miss 5 in
Yeah.
He still take that shot.
Yeah.
So that's the thing you look at. And, I've seen that willingness from Harden this year to give up the ball. Now, both of them are assisting players, Dalton.
Yeah.
They're giving out great assists.
Yeah.
But it's the timeliness of the assist.
Yeah.
It's like a quarterback in football. That, you're down going into the fourth quarter, and you end up coming out of the game with almost 400 yards passing.
Yeah.
But you still lose by 10 points.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
got a lot of meaningless yards that look great statistically, but you got a loss.
Yeah.
Because you're not putting those yards in at a quality time. And that's how you got to look at some of Westbrook's games, Charles.
Yeah, that's.
They got a lot of points, assists, and rebounds, but are they quality points, assists, and rebounds? Did they help your team win? You look at the records of the two teams, the two players, Charles, and a lot of being an MVP is synonymous with winning, Charles. That's why they should always wait until the playoffs are over before in any league, before you vote on the most valuable player, because you have most valuable players many times who don't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Big C. And when you talk about those two players, Houston right now, they're 51 and 22. Oklahoma City is 41 and 31. So they've won 10 more games than OKC. So I definitely see your point on that. Also, when we look at the playoff standings as of tonight, you have in the Western Conference, Golden State number 1, number 2, San Antonio, followed by number 3, Houston. Utah's 4, LA Clippers are 5, Oklahoma City 6, Memphis is 7, and Denver rounds out number 8 spot in the Western Conference. In the Eastern Conference, Big C, we all think it's going to be Cleveland, but they're tied right now. In fact, they have a half-game lead over Boston. Cleveland number 1, Boston 2. Third seed is Washington. The fourth seed is Toronto. Number 5, Atlanta. Number 6, Milwaukee. Number 7 is Indiana, and number 8, Miami. Has anyone seen Larry Bird since that $400 million jackpot? I still haven't seen Larry Bird. I haven't heard anyone even talk about Larry Bird. Big C, your thoughts?
I think Larry might be working on his hands somewhere. Some type of legalization in his hand. He's not trying to move a muscle at the moment. When we look at these teams, as you said, that playoff stature, Jonathan,
yeah.
That's a big deal because it comes down to the seeding in the playoffs. Yes, you make the playoffs, but when you walk in as a 7-8 team, always playing number 1 and number 2, you have a tough battle every night, Jonathan, which doesn't make it easy, especially if you haven't won against these teams during the regular season.
Yeah.
And that's what OKC is looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, 41 wins is not a lot of wins in the NBA. Yes, you're a little over 500 right now, but
yeah.
You'll lose 4 or 5 of your next games.
Yeah.
So you really want to improve your seeding much, Charlton. And, you got a team with lacking NBA experience in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We saw last year where they just gave it up to Golden State when they had them down with 3-1.
Yeah, 3-1.
And all of a sudden, Golden State came back with this flurry and knocked them out. And so this was a team that was disheartened at that point.
Yeah.
And so how do they recover from that? You're going to walk into the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Knowing that you have a team on the ropes 3-1 and let them off.
Yeah.
How do you recover from that? Does Michael Westbrook, when they get to the playoffs, say, hey, this is me riding my back?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the team collapses and we'll lose the series.
Yeah.
3-1.
Yeah, he tried to play like Michael Jordan. That's definitely the case, Big C. So hopefully we'll see a lot of good NBA basketball coming down the stretch and not as much resting players. I want to just pay a little bit of homage to the college NIT tournament, which preceded the NCAA March Madness. That's at Madison Square Garden. I don't know if they'll let Charles Oakley in, Big C, but we have on Tuesday, Georgia Tech 20-15. They're playing of all teams Cal State Bakersfield 25-9, a school from the Central Valley, the heart of agricultural country. Yeah, the Roadrunners, and they play a good brand of basketball just north of Los Angeles, about an hour-and-a-half drive. And then you have TCU there at 22-15. They're playing the University of Central Florida at 24-11. In the Horn Frogs. do they understand that them good old boys down south, they deep fry Roadrunners and the Horn Frogs, Big C? Do they feel safe walking around down south, Big C? That's funny. Yeah, them good old boys better watch out where you're walking down south. And also just a couple of games tonight in the NBA. Toronto's a 9-point favorite over Orlando. That game's up in Canada. Woo, Canada! And I'm going for Canada to win that one. And then you have New York. They're like a 1-point favorite over Detroit. San Antonio is a 4-point favorite at home versus Cleveland. And that doesn't look good for the Eastern Conference when San Antonio might come in third in the West, and they're favored over Cleveland. Dallas, no line against Oklahoma City. Utah and New Orleans, no line. And Sacramento with a 1-point favorite over Memphis tonight. They knocked off the Clippers last night in LA. I think they had a 20-3 run. I think Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan, they're making too many commercials, Big C, about bad things happening. You think they should get out of the commercial business? Your thoughts, Big C? Yeah.
Year in and year out, everybody keeps waiting on them to get over the hump.
Yeah.
They can't get over the first round. That's the hump for them.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's injuries or other distractions that hit this club every year, Charlton, just for some reason there's a demise of this organization. And when you look at the talent, you try to figure out why can they not win? You look at the coach, a tremendous coach in Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
They have all the attributes of a potentially championship team, Charlton. They have a big man in the middle that can play defense and rebound. They got one of the elite point guards in the league. They got a power forward that can jump out of the gym and rebound and sometimes intimidate players, Charlton.
Yeah.
Shooting guard. But this is the team that for some reason cannot put it together during the playoffs. And, you know, it's one of the true mysteries of the NBA. What's wrong with the Clippers when you get to the postseason?
Yeah, that's definitely true, Big C. So hopefully we'll see things turn around for the playoffs. I do want to pay a little bit of homage to the 2017 NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Tournament. Looking at UConn going up against Oregon, and that game's going to be in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Baylor versus Mississippi State. That game's in Oklahoma City. And then we have out in the West Stafford, they're going to be playing another game, and they're playing up against South Carolina. South Carolina came out of the Stockton region. Think about this. In California, they have South Carolina that borders the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean, playing against a team in California, from California. And then they also had Florida State come out here, and they had Quinnipiac, I believe, came out also. They had Oregon State from the West Coast. And most of these teams had to travel 3,000 miles to play in Stockton Arena, which had a small crowd, Big C, but they did a good job of showcasing. Haven't they learned about not sending teams 3,000 miles away to play in a basketball game, Big C? Your thoughts?
They really haven't, Jonathan. And a big part of the tournament selection committee is that you try to make sure you get those teams that you want in the Final Four.
Yeah.
You bracket the proper ones. You know, we see North Carolina and Gonzaga being bracketed properly to get there. You know, Kansas was one stride short.
Yeah.
And I thought they would get there, but, you know, all kudos go out to Oregon.
Yeah.
For playing a phenomenal game and shooting the lights out against Kansas and having them down in the first half, and all they can do is try to scratch their way into the lead. But Oregon had too much. And, you know, another thing about Oregon, Charlton, is that they lost their top rebounder and shot blocker in their conference tournament.
Yeah.
And they made this run without their true big man. So that just goes to show the athleticism that's out there nowadays. And when you have a great team contest that you can cover for a week.
Yeah.
And so they've been able to put 5 players on the floor each night of this tournament, and they've played phenomenal basketball.
Yeah, that's true, Big C. And they always find a way to get everything they need in, a small market, but money talks, and money definitely has gone a long way at the University of Oregon. Just a little bit of the NHL, the Islanders, they're favored against Nashville tonight. Florida's favored against Buffalo. Carolina's favored against Detroit. Chicago's favored against Tampa. St. Louis is favored against Arizona, and Calgary is favored against Colorado. Big C, I want to bring something up in the world of sports. And we talked about it before, where athletes, especially when it comes to the NFL, has anyone talked about analytics for pay? And with players strike either in basketball for college or in the NFL for the black athlete, not being paid the same as the counterpart white athletes for the same amount of work, Big C, is the women through the hockey. We've been talking about this for NFL. Ironically, it's the hockey, the U.S. hockey team, they're dealing with striking because they want equal pay, Big C. Your thoughts on that? I think they're in the right direction.
Well, you know, I really praise the U.S. women's hockey team, Charlton. They won the last 3 World Games.
Yeah.
They won a medal in every Olympics that they participated in. So it shows the true value of them. And what they want is some equality. They're not asking dollar for dollar. That they want it for the United States to increase what they're doing. It's like the men team flies first class.
Yeah.
The women fly coach. All the men players get their own team, own room on the roof. The women have to double up, though.
Yeah.
They're not being treated equally, but yet they're the team that's
They're winning.
the United States when it comes to victory.
Yeah.
They're the leaders. They're the role Charlton, the productivity speaks for itself what they put out.
Yeah.
And the NHL players that play for the United States get to subsidize through those multi-million-dollar contracts that they have as players.
Yeah.
The women don't have that opportunity to make that money outside of the hockey game in college, Charlton. Once they leave college, there's no professional women league for hockey, Charlton.
Yeah.
So they go out and they dominate the world. And the U.S. feels that there's really no value behind them dominating the world. We'll give them some change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe they'll be happy.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is National Women's Month, Charlton, and
Yeah.
Worldwide Women's Month. And I praise their stance during this proper time. And even the stance of them and the other women that have taken a stance against injustices in America. We've had 14 senators, Charlton, back these women in their quest for equality of finances in their sports, or even a raise in finances in their sports. We've had several dozen NHL players take up their stance also, Charlton, and are talking about boycotting the World Games on the men's side, Charlton, which I hopefully that they will do.
Yeah.
Because not until men start costing these owners money,
Yeah.
will these owners pay attention, Charlton. They say that the women are just little weak voices, except that we'll bring in some college players or some high school players.
Yeah.
But, you know, I would respect those players so much that they decline to come in and fill in for these athletes, because all they would do is perpetuate what these people want is not to give these ladies any extra compensation for what they do, even though they play better than what the men do as far as production and winning, though.
Yeah, and Big C, that's a very good point. You know, and speaking of winning, I want to congratulate NBA legend Oscar Robertson. His high school Crispus Attucks in Indianapolis, they won the first state title since 1959 on a great play at the end of the game. Also in California, when we talk about sports, I want to compliment Mark Tennis of Cal High Sports and I want to compliment also the number 1 and number 2 ranked girls high school basketball programs in all the United States of America. It was just happened over the weekend at Golden Run Center in Sacramento. The Clovis West Golden Eagles out of Central California in Fresno, they won the school's first ever Open Division state championship by knocking off 12-time state champion San Jose Midi, which is a private school. So you had the private schools playing and losing to the public school. So congratulations, Clovis West of Fresno, and also San Jose Midi of San Jose. They're ranked number 1 and number 2 in the United States of America, according to USA Today. And Big C,
That might make the voice a little upset, won't it?
Yeah.
The public school is beating a private school. Donald Trump, the president,
no, he wanted. I hear that.
You can have the athletes in a public school than what you have in a private school.
Yeah, and I was talking to Mark Tennis at Cal High Sports. Some of the better, boys' names that came out of the Central Valley, the Poindexters, they played down at Fresno San Joaquin Memorial. They've had some great teams. And the Lopez brothers are out of that area too. But that's a private school in Fresno. So a public school like Clovis West, that's really big, beating a big Bay Area powerhouse, Big C. And when we talk about California, I'd be remiss without going into this segment, but I just want to say that boys and girls sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation of this billion-dollar industry. If you need athletic and sports insurance, you get it through Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio network, and we go through Ben and Mark. We're in all 50 states. We can get you covered whether you're a pro athlete, a collegiate athlete, or a high school athlete, even your mom and pop soccer leagues. Tweet out to Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide. Big C, one of the top things out here in California is kind of near and dear to me. I know you good old boys down south. What just happened today with the NFL and Goodell, it would be like the Dallas Cowboys leaving the state of Texas. Okay, if they left Dallas, we know they left Fort Worth for Arlington. That's not that far. But if they left Texas to go play in New England, or they left Texas to go play in California, the Raiders, they're going to Las Vegas because money talks, Big C. And the balls of the owner, Mr. Davis now, he's saying if you guys still want us here, we can sign a 2-year lease. Isn't that like telling your wife you're leaving it for a younger girl who's prettier and shinier, but you want her to still stick it out for 2 more years until you leave, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charles, what you're looking at right now is the ego of Mark Davis and the owners of the NFL. To tell the fans, we're taking the product away from you.
Yeah.
We're taking away what, has been your heritage, your lineage in this community, something that you've counted on. And we've done it before, and we're going to do it again because we got a new girlfriend that's willing to do more for us than what you were doing.
Yeah, I thought it was Donald Trump that bought the team when they said he's leaving for a new woman. I mean, something prettier, Big C. Your thoughts?
But you and I are talking about, Charlton, it should be a mandate that the name stays with the city.
Yeah.
Okay? The city owns the name of these organizations. They're non-profit organizations, so you should not be able to take that name for profit, okay?
Yeah.
Leave that name behind. And Goodell gets it wrong every time.
Yeah.
And you know, this is the second time that the Raiders have moved. They won a championship in each one of the cities that they've been in. But it's wrong to the fans, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, they're losing. The Raiders, the Warriors will be gone next year. There's talk of the A's leaving, Charlton. So this is a community that struggles already in the East Bay there in California. So it's going to be devoid of professional franchise.
Yeah.
They were the heartbeat and pride of these communities, Charlton. Whether you were a young boy or a grandfather.
Yeah.
You look forward to attending these events. And that's in any major league city where you have professional franchise. And you've grown up with them. And for the NFL to allow this,
yeah.
You know, it's a money grabbing thing, Charlton. It's not about anything else. It's a money grab. And, you know, yes, the state of California is in financial hardship, and you're talking about forcing the state to build 3 stadiums
yeah.
so the teams can play. You're putting that onuses on one state.
Yeah.
That you have to build 3 stadiums to keep teams. That's hard to ask of the taxpayers of anybody. I mean, there's states who have one pro franchise and build a stadium. It's like New Jersey. They don't even have pro team, but they got the Jets and the Giants. But they go
yeah.
go by New York.
Yeah.
But you have 2 organizations sharing a stadium, Charlton, so it makes it easier financially on everybody. But you're talking about building 2 stadiums down in Southern California.
Yeah.
Building one in Northern California. And this is just to keep a team, man. Yet we've constantly talked about the educational struggles of the states, Charlton.
Yeah.
The housing struggles of the states for those less fortunate, the medical struggles of the state. Instead to support a billionaire.
Yeah.
Who has more money than what he needs, but let's give him another $750 million, okay?
Yeah, and that.
He looks like he got a bad hair. Maybe get the ring.
Well, I think he and Donald Trump go to the same barber, Big C. They got to figure it out, just shave it off. But the ironic thing about the Raiders situation, I remember being here back in '96. I did a commercial with John Vella, one of the former Raider greats, and he had a store called Raider Locker Room. These guys walk around with limps. Sometimes they have headaches. They can't function that well, but he was so proud to see the Raiders come back. He's a good old boy up there in Castro Valley where Jack Del Rio's from, also a Big C. And now to see that they're just going to say...
They play down at USC together.
Yeah. Yeah.
USC won number 75, first round draft pick of the Raiders.
Yeah.
Played on that last Super Bowl team that they had.
Yeah. Played there in a lifetime. A lot of these Bay Area Raider plans, a lot of them live over in the East Bay. But I just think, when you think about what Davis is doing, and I know Al Davis moved him, but he moved him to Los Angeles, where they already had a big following. This is just taking them to Las Vegas, which is Sin City. There's going to be a lot of issues with that. That's just my opinion. But I think to say to your whole region, where guys grew up that lived in the East Bay, it's not just about leaving for a new stadium. It's about turning your back on the Raider Nation that's been there since the 60s, Big C, turning your back on California. Now, what happens in Las Vegas if you have enough money? A lot of things you can buy, if you get my point, Big C. Anything's for sale down there. And it just shows that he just told all the people since the early 60s that have supported the silver and black, the black hole, which is probably the most iconic home crowd of any professional sports franchise, Big C. The dog pound in Cleveland is one thing, but they don't have Super Bowls. But to just tell all these people, get on an airplane and fly an hour if you want to see us, because you really don't matter to me. I think that's a big slap in the face, not just the fans, but all the Raider players from the past. Your thoughts, Big C?
It is, Charles. You know, fans work hard to be able to afford season tickets, even single game tickets.
Yeah.
For any professional franchise, and for an owner to say, I appreciate your money, but it's not enough money. I've gotten a little greedy. I got to go down the road where they promising me more.
Yeah.
And they're gonna put out. Vegas puts out, you know, when they want something. They will put the money forth. The stadium will get built. It will be open in 3 years, Charlton, and the Raiders will have a new home. But the problem is that you leave the Bay Area homeless.
Yeah.
You know, because you'll have these vacant venues sitting there together across from each other, Oracle Arena and Oakland Alameda County Coliseum.
Yeah.
They'll be adjacent to each other, and now is that they don't care about communities, Charles.
Yeah.
They don't, you think about Commissioner Goodell. He's not going to take a pay cut and give some of the money back to those people who are going to lose jobs because everybody can't go to Vegas. The ushers can't go to Vegas.
Wait, hold on, Big C. I thought Goodell was going to be like Colin Kaepernick and give us several $1 million to help some of the people that are less fortunate, Big C. You don't think he's going to do that?
Well, something that we'll see that when cars start getting repossessed. We get homes getting repossessed. There'll be liens on other stuff. Credit cards will be canceled because these teams are gone, and no longer will these people who depended on them as part of their livelihood will be able to benefit. You think about local communities like where Oakland was, and those older stadiums in the NFL talk, they were built in the community.
Yeah.
And so during game time, those people would use the yards as parking lots.
Yeah.
And they would earn extra income that they counted on to get them through the year through those 10 home games, those 8 regular season and 2 preseason games that their team would have. And if they got a playoff season like the team, they'd raise the price of parking also.
Yeah.
But when they could count on that money for those 10 games that team would have, they would have that extra revenue, whether it was paying a bill, whether it was buying something for their kids, shopping.
Yeah.
They knew they had it. It was like Christmas. You knew it was going to show up. You just didn't know what was going to be under the tree.
Yeah, and see, and back in the day, there are a lot of Raiders that they actually had people that would go eat at a lot of restaurants around the East Bay and Jack London Square, and a lot of them good old boys back in the day from the Warriors and the Raider players and the Oakland A's. There were times back in the day you would find some of those players in a bar having a cold one, Big C. All that's gone now, Big. I just think that history means more than just, hey, let's go get a new stadium. And they still owe the city in the Oakland, Alameda County about $80 million because of some taxpayer money that was put up to help build Mount Davis and some other improvements. Big C, your thoughts?
That should have been an issue put in front of the NFL that the team cannot walk out on the city owing the city money.
Yeah.
Because the city put the money up front. But, this is the autonomy that these wealthy business owners have.
Yeah.
Sue me.
Yeah.
That's basically what they say, see how far you get. Oh, I'm a non-profit, so you can't sue a non-profit. That's one of the covers of the NFL.
Yeah.
That they don't tell everybody. We can't be sued because we're a non-profit. We don't turn a profit. We don't have money. Even though our television contract for the league is $8 billion.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's a joke what they just did. We know Ronnie Lott, he's out of Rialto, California, went to Eisenhower High School, went to USC, played for the Trojans, played for the 49ers, played for the Raiders and the Jets. He had an investment group here in Northern California. But it's probably, Ronnie Lott doesn't have the same kind of money some of these good old boys down in Vegas have, Big C. And it might be good that he kept his money in his pocket, realizing that the city had already put up $80 million in Oakland, saying, so? They said, so what, Big C? So maybe they did a good job of not losing their money, kind of putting good money after bad money. I just think it's bad for a lot of the people that love this silver and black and all the people. If you think about Oakland's been hit hard by the automotive industry moving out and a lot of construction jobs, Big C. It's coming back now, but they're going to lose the Golden State Warriors, even though they're going to stay in town. They're going to just move, right across the bay, and they're going to play in a new shiny arena in San Francisco. But it doesn't make it hard for their fans to go see the game. But I think this thing of going down to Las Vegas, obviously it's a money grab. You were right about that all along. I thought they would stay, and you thought they would leave if the money was right. So you're right about that. I just thought it's a bad thing because there's going to be more teams that leave their stadiums when they can't hold hostage the taxpayers. Big C, your thought?
Well, Charlton, it's become a new way. You got to put a burden on local communities that struggle already. There's so much infrastructure that needs to be done in most of these major cities. And franchises are forcing them to dole up the dollars, otherwise we'll leave town.
Yeah.
We'll leave you with a vacant arena. We'll leave you with a sore fan base. They'll be mad at you. They're not going to be mad at me, the owner who's going to get more.
Yeah.
They're going to be mad at you because you wouldn't build them an arena. We saw that with Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
They left Seattle over the fight of a new arena. You had a former NBA championship team, and you let them leave town over the fight of an arena.
Yeah.
But yet you go build a new baseball stadium, you go build a new football stadium, and at that time, the only team that had ever won your championship could not get a new arena, Trouble. So when you look at the Stonecrest process,
yeah.
baseball, like ironically, 30 years ago was America's pastime.
Yeah.
everybody paid attention to it. But in the last 25 years, the NFL has just done something phenomenal. It has blown everybody away.
Yeah.
It is the number one entity in America, if not the world.
Yeah.
As far as following, I know people talk about soccer, Charlton, but there's a madness when it comes to football because we look at all the different levels, starting with Pop Warner, high school, college, and professional.
Yeah.
There is so much involvement and viewership in football. It's unbelievable. And so people want to be on the top of their view game.
Yeah.
How they look. And so that's what so many people are concentrated on, whether it's a coach, whether it's an owner. We have to have that look appeal.
Yeah.
So we got that look appeal, people will stay interested.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. It's not about the fan who has been there for good and bad, thick and thin, as they would say, who has cried when you lost, who has cheered when you won.
Yeah.
But you don't care about the fan. You care about that almighty dollar.
Did you see the NCAA tournament over the weekend? The kid from Kentucky, there was two kids from Kentucky. They were crying their hearts out because they really love what they do. They love the fact that they have a great, I won't say a great university, but at least a great team, and it meant so much to them. I was so proud seeing two African-American men, because oftentimes if you do something wrong, they're going to put the camera on you, the spotlight. Here you go with these two kids that put their hearts and soul into it, and they were crestfallen because they lost that game in the fashion that they lost. It reminded me when Kristen Laettner hit the shot back in 1992 against Duke. It was Duke against Kentucky. It's same kind of loss for Kentucky going down to the final games, Big C, when it really matters. The heart that these kids play with, that's how a lot of Raider fans are feeling today, even though they're behind masks and uniforms, so you don't really see it. But I just think there's so much that the money world can learn from these kids that put their heart into it, but also, Big C, the kids can learn it's just a business. Don't be too in love with whoever hires you because they're going to fire you. If they make more money, they'll also move, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton was saying that, and that, like I said, that's disheartening. Because these fans, I mean, you grow up, you got grandfathers taking their sons and their grandsons to games. Grandmothers really, Charlton,
Yeah.
these games. These ladies are just diehard fans, just like the men are.
Yeah.
But, it's that collateral part of the business, Charlton, that's lost. The people who supported you, that support base. The word to think about some of the office staff, Charlton, will they be able to afford to just leave?
No, they can't.
You have people who have families that, they were the only one that worked with the organization. Now that, they're torn. Do we move the whole family? My wife has a job elsewhere. My kids are in school. All of these things that go into play. It's easy for players to move, Charlton, because you make hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
So it's easy for you to go from city to city. It's no big deal. It's like being traded.
Yeah.
You're just moving with the whole team. And you're not going to be shorted on income. But the problem that, the NFL is truly not examining is that you get young players, Charlton, in a city like Vegas with, this, extra income.
Yeah.
All of a sudden not being watched.
Yeah.
And you're going to have some rookies on the Raiders when they go down there. You're going to have some first and second year players on the roster.
Yeah.
That are single. And they're going to want to do single people.
Single, Big C. Single has nothing to do with it when you're in Vegas. That's where married people go. It's not the single people that have all that money. It's those married men that go down there and party. A lot of them own NFL and sports teams, Big C. That's what I don't think it's the single people they got to be worried about. Your thoughts?
Well, but Charlton, it goes back to that young player.
Yeah.
That young, immature player. That's what I'm looking at when I speak about that. That now all of a sudden, I'm walking around, I got $20,000 in my pocket tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to a casino.
And that's Floyd Mayweather. What about the NFL players that have the same thing, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, that's what's going to happen with these young players. And when they lose, they're going to try to make it up, but you can't.
Yeah.
Okay, so now they're in the hole twice.
Yeah.
And so that can present a problem, with the young players. And not only that, Charlton, the nightlife. You got to create some type of culture. Yes, they're grown men.
Yeah.
But Vegas, at least for that first year or two,
yeah.
You got to create some type of culture because they have parties in the city. And they're going to want to set it up just like the kids do, not want to go to school, the next day.
Sounds true, Big C. Last thing I want to ask you, Big C. We've always talked about Sin City for a reason. I think the Rat Pack back in the day with was it Dean Smith and Sammy Davis Jr., them good old boys, Frank Sinatra. we have an NHL team in Vegas. The Raiders going to be the first NFL football team there. Is there an NBA team that's looking to go to Las Vegas? The Clippers, they cannot compete with the Lakers in Los Angeles. Would that be another, just a thought, Big C. They've moved out of San Diego to go to Anaheim, and then now they play at the Staples Center. If there's not enough entertainment dollar to go watch two teams compete in the NBA in LA, would Las Vegas be an easy, natural decision for the LA Clippers? They're probably going to tear that team apart after this year if they don't win a championship, and they probably won't. Is that a team that's going to leave another big market and go to a smaller market where they think they're the big fish in a small pond? Your thoughts?
Well, you just open up a 20,000-seat hockey arena, Charlton, at T-Mobile Center, downtown Vegas. So, the attractions and the amenities are there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much. All you got to do is load up the bags and change the address.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But, the NBA has played all-star games in Vegas, so they've opened the door for a team to go there. And I think in the next 2 to 3 years, you will find that none of the leagues, Charlton, want to be left out, okay?
Yeah.
If there's a team making revenue there, then there would be another team show up. So you'll have 3 of the major sports there, 3 of the 4.
Yeah.
Baseball, I don't know if you can play baseball year-round in Vegas, Charlton.
Yeah.
At least during baseball season in the summer.
Yeah.
Because it's just hot.
Yeah.
All right? And unless you put them in a dome stadium, you're going to kill fans. They're not going to sit in these bleachers in Vegas when it's 112 degrees outside and try to watch a baseball game.
Well, with the kind of money they can have an open-end stadium, too, kind of like they do down in Houston and also down in Miami, Big C. So the last thing I just want to touch on as we close, Big C, we know the Raiders, it's done. They're going to be the Las Vegas whoever. I hope they don't stay the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's something the league's going to have to deal with. We talked about March Madness. We got our Final Four picked out on the men's side. The women also have some great competition. We've celebrated state championships for basketball in the state of California and across the country. And Major League Baseball is getting ready to have that opening day coming up here next month, Big C. Just want to get your thoughts on what you're most looking forward to. POTUS still hasn't apologized to President Obama about the lies that he's told, but that's just a number of things that Donald Trump is involved in. Your thoughts on what you're looking forward to coming into this week, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I'm looking for an exciting weekend at the Final Four.
Yeah.
The border wars, you got the 2 Carolinas and you got Washington and Oregon playing against each other statewide.
Yeah.
And you have new blood in the tournament, Charlton. That's the thing that we got. We got new blood, and when people see that, the excitement of these fans who have not been there before, Charlton, to be able to reap the experience for the players and the university.
Yeah.
And even the alumni to go there to, Phoenix, great climate, great stadium there, the University of Phoenix Stadium where the Cardinals play.
Yeah.
And to be able to set up this match, Charlton, the national championship has been there before, it's back again. But, this is what it's all about, that weekend, that pinnacle in sports. We got golf, hanging on the fringe, and the NHL is getting it done. NBA season is winding down, but March Madness, Dalton, takes the front seat.
Yeah.
And we're going to crown a new champion again this year. North Carolina's hoping to go back in and repeat what they had done 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But Oregon is hoping to go back and do what they did 77 years ago, Charlton. Gonzaga's hoping to get to the pinnacle for the first time, as well as South Carolina.
Yeah.
But, either team that wins, Charlton, is going to be well-deserved because these teams have battled. They battled for months.
Yeah.
They battled through this tournament of 68 teams, Charlton, and whittled it down to 4.
Yeah.
And come Monday night, we will only have 2 and 1 final winner, Charlton.
Well, Big C, speaking of winners, we do it every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network, the #1 network in the United States of America, and also Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say there's always a message that you got to hear. There's never any room for domestic violence. No woman should have to go through any of that garbage. If you see any woman in trouble, just call 911. No one should have to put up with someone grabbing her by the crotch or being physical with her. And as we always tell you on every program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.